Hi folks, Dan here, welcome back to Grounded Tech. Today I'm bringing you my 1 month review of the Samsung Galaxy A33. Now this is normally one of Samsung's best selling mid-range phones, and it includes a number of features from higher end devices that I'm sure many of you will be interested in. So let's dive straight in. Once again, you will notice that there's no charger included with the phone. It supports 25 watt fast charging, but you will have to purchase one if you want that faster charging speed. As with all Samsung phones now, you get the phone, a SIM ejector tool, and a USB-C to USB-C cable. It has a very solid plastic frame with a cheaper feeling plastic back, but overall it's pretty great. Nice in the hand, it should also be quite durable, and it's available in black, white, blue, and peach. There's a 6.4-inch 1080p Super AMOLED display with a 90Hz refresh rate. This basically means that you'll have good detail with good contrast, and you'll see a difference in the smoothness when scrolling or playing certain games. It's a nice display, although the coatings could be a bit better as to help with the reflections. It's also protected with Gorilla Glass 5, so decent scratch resistance and drop protection. There's no always-on display, which to be honest does help a bit with the battery life, but then there is double tap to wake. Call quality is honestly being great. I've had no issues whatsoever. The speakers, whilst they are loud, they do get a bit muddy, so the best thing to do really is to just not max it out because you'll notice some distortion. Got quite a chunky 5000 mAh battery, supported by that 25 watt charging that we mentioned earlier. Although I did expect more from this considering the SoC in here and the fact that it's lacking power somewhat. And speaking of that SoC, it is the Exynos 1280, which is about on par with the performance of last year's A32. To be fair, it did get me through the day fairly easily, and I think you'll be perfectly satisfied if you're used to Samsung phones. There's plenty of performance in regards to playing games if you're playing something like Pokemon Go or you want to play a bit of League of Legends Wild Rift. I just tended to struggle with navigating the phone and switching between apps because that's where a lot of the sort of stutteriness, lagginess sort of came in. So I think that's more down to One UI. That's software related and something they can work on. But I don't think the SoC is really that big of an issue here. So general performance, when you're actually doing something, you'll be fine. You might just find that the phone's a little bit choppy when you're switching between apps. But other features included are a microSD card. There's some extra storage, which is always nice to see. We've got an optical fingerprint reader in the screen, which is pretty solid in speed and accuracy. I had absolutely no issues with that. But unfortunately, we do lose the headphone jack from last year's A32, which is a bit of a shame. The cameras, they're interesting. We've got a 48 megapixel main sensor, which is actually pretty nice, along with an 8 megapixel ultra-wide and a 5 megapixel macro lens. There's also a 2 megapixel depth lens for that portrait shot data. There's no telephoto lens, unfortunately. The output from the main sensor can be really nice. Really good detail, solid HDR. Some of my favourite shots here for you. I particularly like this one. These are great. However, there are times where things can go a bit wrong. In really bright sunshine, the colours really do become oversaturated. In a Twitter poll comparing the A33 against the much cheaper A13, it was clear that in these situations, people actually preferred the photo from the budget phone. However, the majority of times it is fine. You can easily edit the colour if it's not to your liking. There's also various modes such as night mode, panorama, and a pro mode to dial in settings and more. It's a really feature-rich camera system. The ultra-wide isn't bad at all and is about what you would expect for a phone at this price. I'm glad Samsung didn't go for the 2 megapixel macro lens. The 5 megapixel is at least usable for those close-up shots, but nothing exciting. I found the 13 megapixel selfie cam to be pretty decent, but as always I recommend you use the main camera for selfies. Pretty easy once you get used to it and you'll be much happier with the results. The one issue that I found frustrating, however, was the shutter lag. This is basically the time between you tapping to take the photo and the phone actually taking the photo. This can lead to blurred shots when there's movement, and sometimes if you move the phone after thinking you have taken the shot, you can end up with something a little bit different to what you expected. Unfortunately, this is something that affects the majority of Samsung phones and has been known for some time. So hopefully at some stage there will be a fix rolled out, but for now, it is definitely there and it's an issue. Video is pretty nice. We've got 4K 30 FPS or 1080p 30 and 60 FPS with optical image stabilization on that main sensor. Quite happy with it actually. Samsung have always been pretty good on video, and again, they've done a really good job here. The phone has launched with Android 12, and Samsung has confirmed with me that it will receive 4 years of OS updates, which is very, very good. That's actually the same as their highest end flagship. Very impressive. Really good. So you're getting some good value for money in that respect. In fact, that's probably where you're paying a premium over some other handsets in that you've got much longer software support. Overall, I think there's a lot to like about this phone. It's just it is let down a little bit with that choppy performance. I think a large part of that does come down to Samsung's One UI and even their launcher as well with that. The Exynos doesn't help, but I don't think it's the biggest part of the problem. And they've got plenty of chance to sort that out with software updates. Now, if this doesn't sound like the experience that you want, there are plenty of other mid-range options out there. You've got the likes of Xiaomi, Oppo, and Honor that have some great offerings. Those of you that tend to stick with Samsung and you've always been happy, I would imagine you will have a very good experience. It'll be exactly what you would expect. As always, thank you very much for taking time to watch this video. And until the next one, take care. We'll see you soon.